Hey guys, Steinixos here. So today we'll be discussing Ace. Specifically, we'll be trying to figure out just how strong he is. Now, throughout the One Piece community, I have been seeing a general trend of a severe underestimation of Ace's strength. But I mean, that is a very understandable sentiment, given that Ace's flame was extinguished from quite early in the series. So conceptually, it would be very hard to relate him to the powerhouses that are currently running wild. However, I think that Ace has way more to offer than meets the eye, so let us put together all the current information we have about him to attempt to get a comprehensive picture on how strong Ace really is. So the first thing I'd like to go over is the fact that Ace is a Logia Devil Fruit user. Now, in a world of hacky and careless Logia users, it is sometimes forgotten just how broken having a Logia Devil Fruit is. So everyone knows that due to the fluid nature of their body, a Logia Devil Fruit grants the user near invincibility to all attacks outside of ones with a special means of interaction. So that means that Ace, who is the user of the Flame Logia Devil Fruit, just by existing, is actually immune to the majority of attacks in the One Piece world. Because remember, being able to utilize armament haki isn't actually a common phenomenon in the One Piece world. I mean, just think about it. Irrespective of just how strong Luffy was getting in the pre-time skip, with for example the unlocking of his gears, it doesn't change the fact that for close to 600 chapters, he just could not use armament haki at all. So his wins against Logia users in the pre-time skip for a significant part just happened to be luck in pairing. So for example, his first Logia opponent just happened to be Crocodile, who uses the Sand Logia Devil Fruit, which has the relatively accessible elemental weakness of water. And then Luffy's next Logia opponent just happened to be Enel, the Lightning Man, for which he himself as a Rubber Man just happens to be the natural elemental weakness. Like Luffy basically just struck gold twice. But you'll note, in the pre-time skip when he met a Logia for whom there is no accessible elemental weakness, like Smoker who uses the Smoke Fruit, he literally just could not do anything at all despite his strength. And this is actually the case for the majority of the One Piece world who cannot use haki. I mean, to put this into further perspective, remember, there are even main characters who have been honing their skills for over 1000 chapters, like Robin for example, who is now strong enough to take out Black Maria, a high-level member of an Emperor's pirate crew, and like Chopper, who is able to at least damage Queen, a headliner and an ancient Zoan of an Emperor's pirate crew. Yet even with all of this strength that they have attained, characters like these who do not know armament haki would still just be completely useless against a Logia like Ace, since they have no way of touching him. So even Ace's passive existence as a Logia is actually quite a terrifying thing. However, being the 2nd Division commander of an Emperor's pirate crew which operates on the Grand Line, a sea full of monstrous haki users, obviously Ace couldn't just be entirely reliant upon the invulnerability hacks provided by his Devil Fruit. And there was no clearer demonstration of this than when Blackbeard nullified Ace's Devil Fruit powers using his Yami Yami no Mi, yet Ace was still able to fight and provide a challenge against him. Von Augur even went out of his way to comment that Ace's basic fighting power outside of his Devil Fruit is excellent. But again, this should be expected. I mean, Ace is a person with the devil's blood running through his veins, being the son of the former pirate king Gold D. Roger. So obviously Ace wasn't just any regular person, and this was easily apparent from his childhood. I mean, even Ace's introduction as a 10-year-old child, we saw him doing many other impressive feats, like breaking a giant tree with a few kicks, as well as fighting against and providing a challenge to grown adult men. And let us not forget that as a child, like Luffy, Ace was also regularly receiving training from his Navy Vice Admiral grandfather Garp. And as Luffy described, Garp's training was pretty extreme, and thus it included things like being pushed off of a bottomless cliff, or being thrown into the jungle at night, or being tied to a balloon and sent flying in the sky. So the basis of Ace's physical strength was established from an early age, but probably the most important information that we can get from Luffy that characterizes Ace's strength in concrete terms is that Alabasta Arc Luffy told us that he was never once able to beat Ace. And remember again, this was prior to Ace having his Devil Fruit. And this sentiment of Ace being superior to himself seemed to be retained by Luffy even up to the end of the pre-time skip at the Marineford War, where after Ace was freed by Luffy, Ace remarked that Luffy had gotten stronger, and Luffy in response said that he would one day become stronger than Ace. And remember, this was a Luffy who was running wild, defeating CP0 as well as taking down Warlords of the Sea, and he still regarded Ace as being superior to himself. And to be clear here, we know that this was not just Luffy's subjective assessment of Ace and himself with no backing. You see, Ace actually had the feats to back this up. So firstly, we know that upon receiving his bounty of 100,000 berries, Ace's strength was acknowledged by the world government, and he was invited to become a Warlord of the Sea, a position which he obviously declined. Now that is obviously impressive, but the vast disparity in strength level between the members of the Warlord class makes it so that no concrete information can be conveyed with just that term. So this is where Jinbei comes. Now Jinbei is obviously one of the stronger warlords of the sea, with a lot of scaling information backing this up. So for example, though not in a full fight, we saw where he was able to easily one-shot Gekko Moria, and again, he was obviously superior to a pre-time skip Luffy, being able to easily catch him in his Gear 2 form at Impel Down, as well as easily hold and restrain this pre-time skip Luffy down while they were both injured. Even in the post-time skip at Fishman Island, Luffy instinctively goes Gear 2 against him, and again, probably most impressive of all, even in the pre-time skip, we see where Jinbei was even able to take attacks from Akainu with just his bare hands. So suffice it to say, even a Marineford War Arc Jinbei has always been in the upper echelon of characters. So with this perspective, you should now understand how high level a combatant Ace is, who we knew was able to fight Jinbei for over 5 days to a standstill. But you see, even that is only half of the story, because remember, this fight against Jinbei happened before Ace joined the Whitebeard Pirates, and this Ace, who could fight Jinbei to a standstill, was still too weak to even damage the skin on Whitebeard's palms. So during his stay on Whitebeard's ship, he received continual training from Whitebeard's crew members, such as from Thatch, as well as through his various challenges against Whitebeard himself. And this culminated in a final fight against Whitebeard, where upon being witnessed by Jinbei, Jinbei himself described it as being amazing, and that the Ace who was now fighting against Whitebeard was on a completely different level than the Ace who had fought him to a standstill. So it's quite clear that Ace was not simply equal to Jinbei, but by Jinbei's own description, it seemed as if he acknowledged Ace to be above himself. And of course, Ace's growth would not have stopped there. However, there isn't much information available about Ace's various adventures after that point. I mean, we know he fought Blackbeard, who definitely acknowledged him as being strong, being that Blackbeard even offered him a spot in his crew, but the majority of that fight was not clearly shown, and we didn't really get to see the states of the combatants after their final clash, so there isn't really much information to go off of there. And I mean, likely the best person who could give us higher level information is Yamato, who Ace fought against when he went to Wano 4 years ago. Now we know that the current Yamato is one of the only persons in the series who can use Conqueror's Haki coating, and who is strong enough to keep up with and fight against a hybrid form Kaido. So if the Yamato that Ace fought was anything comparable to what she is currently, then of course that would give us a real tangible grasp on how Ace may have compared to the Emperors. However, we just cannot know how much stronger Yamato would have gotten in those 4 years, and we don't even know the specifics of their original battle. For example, if they both went all out. So again, there isn't really much to go off of there. So the final thing I'd like to speak about is Ace's Haki. So Ace is one of the few persons in the series who we know is able to use all 3 types of Haki. We saw where he unlocked his Conqueror's Haki from a young age, and aboard the Whitebeard ship he received training to master his observation and armament Haki. Now exactly how proficient he was in each of these types of Haki was never revealed, but a very unique aspect of Ace's Haki that often goes unexplored is that he is the only person in the series whose Haki is confirmed to be of a certain elemental nature. You see, in Ace's novel, Ben Bettman described Ace's haki as being fiery in nature, and this haki was so fiery that Ace's very presence was able to stop the blizzards on the Winter Island, which he and Shanks's crew were on for as long as he was there. And this was the same thing which happened on Drum Island, a similar winter island which, when visited by Ace, it also did not snow while he was there. Now, unlike the Winter Island in Ace's novel, the Drum Island feat was not explicitly confirmed to be his haki, and thus this one could have been his Delphoot. However, regardless, the confirmation that Ace's very haki itself is able to have elemental effects is a startling indication of his potential and just how brightly his flame burned. So there is no doubt that even from the information that we know, Ace was a very strong character, and with his heritage as the former Pirate King's son, he would have obviously continued to grow had his flame not been extinguished while protecting his brother that he loved. But anyway, that's the video guys. You can let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below, and of course don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video. But anyway, see you guys next time.